Hello guys, so let's start once again. And in the previous session, we discussed the concept that how to add the gateway to the manager. And we tried to establish the SIC, that is a secure internal communication between the manager and the gateway. And after that one, we just had a look that how the interfaces are configured, right? So what was the idea that we took a manager there, we took a PC here that was in a smart console, and they were connected via brazier, and here was our gateway, right? We put the IP address here as 10.1.1.50, and this was the IP of 10.1.1.51. Okay, and this was the IP address 10.1.1.1. So that's what we discussed in the previous class, and now our task is to establish or look onto the security policies, that how the security policies are configured and how they work. Okay, so let me quickly open my EVNG setup here, right? So EVNG is open, okay, and this is the topology, and let me open the computer. So this is the PC. I think this is working fine. I think let me check whether we are having the connectivity. Yeah, this is the what we did in the previous session. We tried to add this gateway into the manager and through the smart console. Okay, so let me just test the connectivity, that whether we are having the connectivity to the manager and gateway or not. Most probably it will be, but just to confirm. So this is our manager, we are having it, that's fine. And let me check with the gateway. Gateway is having some issue. Let me check that one, that why it is not having the connectivity, right? So let me have just look at why it is not working. Okay, so I have changed one of the security policy. There was a statement of deny option there. So I have just accepted it as of now, although it should be denied for any of the, all the rules, right? From source to destination. I will explain it. So by this change, now I am able to ping our 5.51. So by this way, I can reach my gateway. Okay. So let me open it in the browser 10.1.1.50. Let's open it. Yeah. So 10.1.1.50, and now I'm able to open it. Most probably, I think it should open now because I am able to ping it, but I don't know why it is taking too much time. Although I have to ping open 51, not 50, right? Yep, this is a 51. Admin123 is my password here, and there we go, we open the gateway. Perfect. So what I'm going to explain you today, the security policies here. So first thing first, that you have to learn, that is our objects. Okay, so whatever we do in our firewalls, those are called as an object. So here you see there is an option of network objects. Network objects means we are creating some network objects. Inside the network objects, we are having further categories like gateways and servers, networks, hosts, address ranges. So it's like you want to create the things like you want to specify any host or you want to specify any specific IP, then you will use this option hosts, right? So it's a better way to do the practical ways rather explaining it. Okay. So what I have to do, I will create a rule. Okay. And then meanwhile, we keep on learning that what are these things. Okay. So let me create a policy, or we can say the rule. So how can we create? We can just click three dots here, right? And add rule above. And now there's a very important thing that whether we want to add the rule above or below. So this is just, let me explain you here in the blank page. There is a option, not in fact only in the checkpoint, in all the firewall almost, that whenever we talk about the rules, the first rule is executed first. Let us say that you are having an statement that whenever the any communication is starting from 192.168.1.5 IP address, please accept it. Accept means allow. Here in the checkpoint, we have to say like accept or deny. So I'm just using the same terms here as an accept. Okay. After that one, you are having one more rule that whenever anyone is trying to reach 192.168.1.0, means the connection is initiating from 192.168.1.0 network, then please drop it, right? Do not allow it to cross the firewall. This is our firewall. And in that firewall, we are having two rules. Rule number one is 192.168.1.5. Source is accept, means allowed. Rule number two is whenever any of the traffic is coming from this network, then please drop it. So you see that this IP address 192.168.1.5 is from this network, right? So it should be dropped. It should not be allowed. But what is happening in the checkpoint firewall? It is coming and looking at the first rule that this IP address 192.168.1.5 is allowed, so it will accept it. It is not going to check what is the second rule, right? It will not look at that, and directly the traffic is allowed. Now, by chance, if any of the other IP address 192.168 1.6 is trying to access the network, right? Or hitting the firewall. Now what will happen? It will not match this rule because this is not the .5 IP. So it will not match this rule, right? It will not match this rule. What it will do? It will check for the second rule. Now, if when it is checking the second rule, it finds that this 1.6 IP address is from this subnet, right? So it will simply drop the packet. So the thing is that whenever we are having multiple rules, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so whenever the match is from the above rule, the remaining rules are not being checked. The traffic is, let's suppose you have any rules for a specific two that any of the IP address specific is to be dropped, right? They are not allowed. So remaining all the IP address, let's say, let me take an example. Let's suppose 192.168 1.10 is not allowed. Drop. And further, after the third rule, we are having an rule 192.168 1.0 network. Complete network is accept. So whole network is accepted. Only this guy who is having this IP address is not allowed to cross the firewall or any of the rule. It might be that you have any specific server and you don't want to access that server to this guy who is having this IP address. So the main thing is that the rules are checked from the top to bottom, right? So that's why whenever we are adding the rules, it asks that whether you want to add the rule at the top or at the bottom, correct? So let me delete it and switch to our practical. So I have added a rule here. Okay. And now what I am trying to do, and here let me tell you one more thing here, that in the checkpoint firewall, the management and the traffic policies are in the same policy. It's like if you want to secure your firewall from the accessing it, right? Who can make changes or who is the administrator, those rules are also in the same window. While in other firewalls like Palo Alto and Fortinet, they are having the separate management thing. The rules are differ from the this normal traffic rules, but here in the checkpoint, they are in the same. So first, what we have to do, we have to secure our firewall so that any unwanted person cannot access our firewall. So for that one, we can say it a general name. We can say as a management rule. Okay, and in the management rule, what I will do, I will just only allow the one person or any specific subnet. So right now I'm this guy using this computer, right? My IP address is 10.1.1.10. So I will allow only 10.1.1.10. Only this person can access the firewall, remaining cannot be. So for that one, what I'm going to do, I'm create a new object. Okay, how I'm going to create, we can click it here. Do you see that light symbol or something? And inside that one, we can go to the network. As you go to the network, it just asks you the network address. So first I have to get it the name. So name, I am giving it as a management PC. Okay, and the IP address, my IP address is 10.1.1.10 and click it. Okay, so now this value is required at mask. Okay, so the net mask is 255.255.255.0 and the broadcast address is included, so I'm okay with that one. IPv4 address is invalid based on the defined net mask. 1.0 will be used instead. Okay, so because I am using only the specific IP address, right? So what I should do, I should just I think I have added some other one, gateway. What I have to do, I have to just put the subnet mask of 255.255.255.255, so that I can change it here. Whatever I have created here, now you can see it under this manage network objects. So this time I have a specific one, so I can go to the host, not on the host, on the networks, and here you see that management PC. So right now I have created it like a network, like 1.0, but I want only one computer. So for that one, the subnet mask will be 255 and click it OK. Now you see that it will not fall under the network category. Now it will go under the host category because I am talking about only one computer, not the entire network, right? So let me go back, and this time, although it is still showing it here, let me check if it has been changed. Yeah, it has. So maybe it takes some time, or after that one, it will come under this host category. So in the host, we are having only one IP address. Perfect. So this management IP here, right? Let me close this window. And the source is management PC, and the destination, it is trying to hit 10.1.1.51. So I'm okay with this gateway. Okay. If this guy is trying to hit the gateway, then the action is accept. Okay, and if anyone else, right, anyone else means we have to create one more rule here, new rule below, and I can name it like a defense rule. This rule is new, will show logs based it on content, And yeah, one more thing, that whenever we are giving any rule, please give the track as log. Track log means that whenever any traffic is hitting this one, we can see that detail in the log section. If you do not click it in the log here, you might not might not in fact, I should not say that word might not. Definitely, you will not able to see the logs, right? So, in order to track that how much traffic is violated or accepted, you have to click it here, log. So, I am creating the defense rule now. So these are the some standard terminologies, and interviewers sometimes ask that what is this management rule, what is the defense rule, and all. So now, if anyone else, right? So any, and this time I will use the word any here. In fact, say, let me check if any was there or not. Source, none, switch to any. So if anyone else trying to reach my gateway 10.1.1.51, okay, then please drop it. Perfect. And I want to log this as well. So now only this one computer will be able to access 10.1.1.50 to this one. Remaining all other computer will not be able to access it. And what else I can do? I can create internet rule as well, right? Because if this computer, our own management PC, want to access the internet, then how can we do it? So for that one, we can create one more rule, new rule below, and that we can also say as an internet rule. Any source, or not, is not too good to say any source. I will create an internal network, right? So let me create an object from here, new network, and name should be our internal network, or internal is fine, I think. And the network address is, and whole our network 10.1.1.0 can access the internet. So subnet mask will be 255.255.255.0, right? So this is my uh, internet, and let me click it. Okay. And destination any, I want to allow for any, right? So switch to any. And here in the go, if we scroll right a bit, so we are having an option for services and applications. So right now I am allowing all services, right? Switch to any. It means that all the services I'm allowing. If I allow, put it none, so none of the services will be allowed. Services means if you go to the drop down, so these are just common services, right? So you want to allow our HTTP service, FTP service, or you can say in the short, this is port numbers actually, right? So these are the things we are allowing. So right now I'm allowing any, means all of the services are allowed. Most important part, don't leave it and put it accept. Track it. Yes, I want to track them, right? And that's it. And one more very important thing is just for this is specifically for my setup. What is happening here? That that's let me explain that how actually I'm connected to the internet, right? So this is my EVNG setup. And in EVNG setup, I'm having multiple NIC, and from multiple NICs, that is in fact our right. I'm inside that. I'm having one machine, right? That is having an IP address of 10.1.1.10, right? And now this is connected to one of the NIC, and this NIC is further connected to one physical NIC. I think you are aware of that. What is the NIC actually? So we always assign the IP addresses to the NIC only, right? And now this is the physical one, and now this further is connected to the one of the router here. and then it is going to the internet. So this router is having a rule that whenever the IP address will be coming from 192.168.137 dot something, then only it will be sent to the internet, right? So if the packet source is not from this subnet, then it will not be allowed to go to the internet. But our network is the 10.1.1.10, right? So obviously you guess it right. We will do the NAT, network address translation. Sorry guys, I was just a little uh, interrupted. And so let's go ahead. So I think you guessed it right? So we have to do the NAT translation here so that our source IP address 10.1.10 will be translated to one of the IP address from this network. So right now I'm not going to explain so much of NAT because I'm going to cover in the next topic, right? So I will just quickly configure the NAT in the policies so that we can have a look on the logs actually that how the log works, right? So for that purpose, what I'm going to do here in the internet rule, whatever I'm having here, right? So let me open the objects, that is internet, not internet rule, that internal, right? So let me go to the internal, and there I will enable the NAT internal, and here I will go for NAT and just add a rule for the NAT. Okay, so I'm using hide behind the gateway, and the gateway is using the IP address. What is the required one? 192.168.137.134. So right now our target is to see the security policies and to see the logs. So that's how I have created all the policies. Next thing what you have to do, you have to install these policies, right? So you have written them, but they is still not installed or not activated in the firewall. So for that one, we will hit this button and it will publish and install. Publish means it will advertise it. So it is like that in sometimes we are having multiple gateways connected, right? So it will publish to all the gateways and then it will install it. So policy installation is started in progress. Let me just check it here. Most probably it should succeed, and if it does not, then we will see the details that what it causing. So finally it is installation succeeded on the gateway one, right? So it means that all policies are fine. And now, why is this symbol here? What is saying? This rule will never be matched. Rule contains an objects type none in source destination of services. Okay, I think we have missed or something. Okay, so here we have to put it any, right? Any of the service that will be denied. Any of the service that will be denied. Perfect. So now we can install once again, publish and install. So although I'm little worried that it should not interrupt the communication between the management and the gateway, right? But anyways, let's see what it is doing. Perfect. So this is how we see the rules, right? So these are the normal policies that whether these traffics are allowed or drop, means accept or drop. There's one more thing like this NAT policy, right? So by default, there are no rules, but once we created the NAT, these two rules are automatically created, right? So once we enabled over there, you see that it is showing that automatic generated rules. So these are the automatic generated rules. And if you want to create by yourself some more rules, you can add rules from here. So we will cover that NAT section when I'm explaining the NAT more. Meanwhile, if you go to the policies, right? So these are the policy I have created manually, but Except these policies, what you see it here, what I have created, there are some more rules. They are known as the implied rules. You see these implied rules. So implied rules are inbuilt rules inside the firewall, and they can be modified as well. There's nothing like that we cannot modify, but normally we do not modify them. Okay, but if it is required in production environment and you have to modify, you can modify as per your requirement. So once the traffic hit these rules, you can see the logs here in the log monitor, right? So let me see that does it has any rules or not. So right now it is hitting like this, destination 8.8.8, right? You see that it is heading from source 10.1.1.10, trying to reach the domain UDP 53, and it is hitting the cleanup rule and it is denying. So this is the quite old actually. Uh, on that time, that cleanup rule was having the deny policy, right? But let me refresh it and let's see the new logs. So you see that now we are having some of the rules here. So now our 8.8.8 is allowed to go to the internet. We are having an access, right? TCP/IP, right? Internet rule. It is hitting that, and by that rule, the traffic is allowed. So let me just open one of the rule here. So you can just double click any of the rule and it will show you the detail. So if you see it here, the origin from the gateway is this one. This was the time that when the traffic was originated. This is the original source IP address 10.1.1.10. It was trying to reach the destination 72.163.1.80. Actually, this is for the internet, so might be some of the service like DNS or something. So DNS is 8.8.8, so there might be some other service, right? So because of that one, that communication started. Another thing is the action was accept, means that the traffic was allowed. Policy was policy manager, and the which is most important part is that which of the rule it was hitting. So it was hitting an internet rule, right? It means that through internet rule was to any of the computer from 10.1.1.0 network, if tries to reach the destination, they can go through that one. Perfect. So that's how it is hitting that one. And we created a network rule, that is NAT. So now this IP address 10.1.1.10 was translated to one of the IP address from this range 192.168.137.134. So this is actually the interface IP, gateway 1 interface IP, and through that IP it is trying to reach the destination, right? So if you have not I think gone to the topology here, let me show you. I think I missed that part to explain you, right? Let me. So what I have done here new, that I have added a network here and that I have connected to the firewall to the interface Ethernet 1, and through that one only it is going to the internet, right? So if you I go to the gateway, let me try to show you, and there I have enabled the gateway where I can see here in the Chrome, and the IP address was 151. It is still not opened. Wow, strange. Correct. So if I go to the network interfaces here, so here this is the interface Ethernet 1, and the IP address is 192.168.137.134. I have not given this IP statically. I have enabled the DHCP here, obtain IPv4 address automatically. So here in the network, or I explained you in the diagram, that there is a right? Let me, it is colored is not changed. Yeah, let me change another color. So I explained you that this is my firewall, and this firewall is having one router in between, and then it is going to the internet. So this router is actually a DHCP server, and it is trying to assign an IP address to this interface. Okay, so this is 192.168.137.134, and this is having the default gateway of 192.168.137.2. Okay, so if you do not understand, this is for the going to the internet. So you, if you understand till this left, that is okay. This is, I'm telling you extra to give you feel of real networking, that how actually you can reach the internet. Because if you do not reach the internet and you do not cross the firewall to reach the internet, you will miss the fun part. So that's why I'm just doing the lot of things to reach the internet, because whenever you are doing the practical things, uh, things gets a little complicated. Otherwise, most of the teacher just explain up to here and they just leave it. They do not, they never go to the internet, right? I have learned from so many sources. So they, most of the teachers do not go to the internet. They just stop here, explain the policy that it will happen, but they never show it in their practicals. So let me delete it, and back to our discussion here. So that's how it is happening. So it is hitting the traffic. Let me show you the logs, right? Let's see the log details here. So I will just try to hit the internet, and then I will refresh it. Refresh it, refresh it. It takes some time because it is having a lot of load here, a lot of things to do, right? So now it is hitting that, trying to reach that gateway 10.1.1.51, and that was allowed. The most important thing, that what I'm trying to do, I am trying to ping that 8.8.8.8. That is an ICMP request, and that will go through that firewall. Okay. So now let's try to log this, that whether we have got this request from our computer or not. So you see that now whatever we just hit, that is being logged through our firewall. So now let's just have a look on that one. It was gateway 1. It was initiated from my host 10.1.1.1.10. Service was ICMP echo request. Okay. Policy was accept. Which policy it was hitting? Internet rule. Okay, and after that one it just translated and then went to the internet. You can also click it here. If you click that internet rule or the access rule number 3 in the backend, it will show you the policy, that which of the policy you can minimize it, and you can see that which of the policy that rule was hitting, right? And you can also see the NAT, that which of the NAT rule it is hitting. You can click it here, number 2, and in the backend, if you just check the background, it will just move to the NAT rule, that which NAT rule it was hitting. So it was hitting this one NAT rule. Okay, but if I try to open the internet, then it will not open. If I open it here, google.com, it will not open. Now it opened, right? Why it opened actually? Let me check. Because I did not configure the static route, but I don't know why it is going to the internet. Let me just check that whether I am having the static route or not. Because I remember I did not configure it, but how it came actually, I'm a little surprised. Okay, it was in the 1.51. Let me check the static rules here. Oh, it is already there. Default gateway. So I just thought that I have not configured that one, but I have configured. So sometimes you might miss this part. that you do not give any static route, when it means that we have to give a right routing to that firewall, that whenever any of the traffic is hitting to the firewall, please forward that traffic to the default gateway, that is 192.168.137.2. This default gateway belongs to this uh, this IP address right here, towards here. So this IP address is sitting somewhere here, 68.137.2. So that's what we have to give the default gateway. So I think you have covered the CCNA. So because this is the basic requirement, then only you can understand these concepts. So I think if you have covered CCNA, then obviously you might have got that why we need the default gateway in order to reach the internet. Perfect. So I think I have covered enough for this session, and in the next session I will cover the what I'm going to cover backup, and then we will see the NAT. First I will cover the backup, that how the configuration changes, because sometimes we do some mistakes, and then how to restore those configurations, or uh, no, such type of things are very important in the production, or not in production, even here that is important. So that we'll learn first, and then we will learn the NAT. So that is okay. Let's see some more logs, and then we will just close it. So I think you are quite confident with it, I'm sure, but it is very important that you do practice this, creating these policies and hitting that rules, right? If you do not uh, do these things, obviously it is very difficult to understand, but you feel that you know it, you can do it, but actually when you are trying to implement it, uh, you will feel that you're not confident enough to do the things. So you can see the logs here as well, right? So that this rules is having which many of logs. So if any of the traffic is hitting to the defense rule, there's nothing here. If you anyone is hitting the cleanup rule, you see it is coming here. Oh, I think, or it is not. Let me refresh it. I think this is not hitting the. Ah, okay, okay. I just allowed that one. I have to deny this one because this is a cleanup rule and that should be dropped. So that's why we are having a lot of communication, because that is a most important rule. If you accept it, it means that you are having vulnerability. You don't have to nothing to stop. So only these things are allowed. Remaining all will be stopped. So that's what it should come here. These all traffic should be stopped. They should not go to the internet. That's perfect. Now we can see the deny rules. No, still not. Now it should deny it, right? No, it is accepting. Cleanup rule. Cleanup rule is to drop. So, okay, I think these are the old, right? We might have not any old, new one. These are the, I think, old one. Any new request will come to the this like this request, CPD or something, that will be dropped. Gateway 10.1.1.51. Okay. I think I have to allow this 10.1.1.51 as well to in order to communicate to the gateway. But anyways, you have seen enough. I think that's quite okay for this session. The most important part was to show you the logs, that how the logs are being captured here. Okay, so that's how it is. And the security policies. So that's okay, guys. In the next session, we will see how to take backup, and then we will explain some of the concepts of NAT, and then we will do the practical of those. Okay, guys, till that, bye bye. See you soon in the next session.